The old man's legs gave out just a few feet from the emergency entrance. His weathered military cap rolled across the pavement as his frail body collapsed into the middle of the driveway, ignored by rushing strangers who assumed someone else would help. Then, out of the thunderous roar of chrome and engines, a towering Hell's Angel biker leaped off his motorcycle, dropped to his knees without hesitation, and lifted the elderly veteran into his tattooed arms. Within minutes, something happened outside that hospital that no one present would ever forget. Before we continue, if you believe kindness matters more than appearances, and that everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone you care about, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that remind the world compassion still exists. The biker's name was Garrick Boone, a 62-year-old member of a Hells Angels chapter that many people feared simply because of the leather vest on his shoulders. His long silver hair, scarred knuckles, and weathered face made strangers cross the street when they saw him. Few people ever looked beyond the patches stitched across his vest. Even fewer knew that decades earlier, before life had taken unexpected turns, Garrick had served as a combat medic in the army. The nightmares never left him, but helping people had always remained somewhere deep inside him, buried beneath years of loneliness, regret, and harsh judgment from the world around him. The elderly man lying unconscious in his arms was Harold Mercer, an 87-year-old Korean War veteran. Harold had lived alone since losing his wife nearly 15 years earlier. Pride had kept him independent long after his body had started failing. That morning he had insisted on driving himself to the Veterans Medical Center after suffering severe chest pains throughout the night. Halfway from the parking lot to the emergency entrance, his strength disappeared. As nurses rushed toward them with a stretcher, Garrick refused to put Harold down until medical staff assured him they had him safely. His booming voice echoed through the entrance as he begged them not to waste another second. Hospital employees noticed tears gathering beneath the rough biker's eyes, a sight nobody expected from someone whose appearance screamed intimidation. Inside the emergency department, doctors fought desperately to stabilize Harold. His heart had nearly stopped twice before they managed to restore a steady rhythm. Garrick remained outside the treatment room, refusing to leave despite having no relationship with the old veteran whatsoever. Visitors stared at him nervously, whispering assumptions based on his leather vest. Some mothers quietly guided their children farther away. Hours passed. A nurse finally approached Garrick with exhausted eyes. Harold had survived the surgery but needed blood immediately because of unexpected complications. Unfortunately, his blood type was exceptionally rare, and supplies at the hospital had become critically low after multiple emergencies that week. Without asking another question, Garrick volunteered. The technician almost dismissed him immediately, assuming years of tattoos and biker life would disqualify him. But after routine screening, they discovered Garrick was not only healthy enough to donate, but his blood matched Harold's perfectly. As crimson blood slowly filled the collection bag, Garrick stared silently through the window toward the intensive care unit. Memories flooded back of soldiers whose lives he could not save decades earlier. He remembered carrying wounded young men through smoke and gunfire, promising families they had fought bravely. Every heartbeat from the machine beside him sounded like another chance to finally keep one of those promises. Word quietly spread throughout the hospital. The intimidating biker wasn't causing trouble. He had carried a dying veteran to safety. He had donated blood. He had refused to leave. Doctors, nurses, janitors, patients, and families all began looking at him differently. The following morning Harold finally regained consciousness. Though weak and exhausted, his first question wasn't about his own health. He wanted to know who had carried him into the hospital because fragmented memories lingered in his mind of strong tattooed arms refusing to let him fall. When Garrick entered the room, Harold smiled with surprising warmth. The elderly veteran reached for Garrick's rough hand with trembling fingers. He held it tightly. Neither man spoke for several moments. Sometimes gratitude says everything without words. Harold eventually learned about the blood donation and quietly wept. He admitted that before collapsing, he had seen the motorcycles arrive and instinctively felt nervous. Years of stereotypes had shaped his expectations. Yet when his life hung by a thread, the person everyone feared became the only one willing to run toward him. Over the next several weeks, Garrick visited every afternoon. He brought newspapers, coffee, old country music playlists, and stories from his army days that he had never shared with anyone else. Harold responded with memories from Korea, faded photographs of young soldiers who never returned home, and handwritten letters exchanged with his late wife during wartime. A remarkable friendship grew between two men separated by generations but united by sacrifice. Hospital staff began looking forward to Garrick's daily visits. The biker who once made people uncomfortable now brought smiles into waiting rooms simply by greeting nurses by name. Children waved at him. Veterans saluted him. The leather vest no longer seemed frightening. It had become a reminder that goodness often wears unexpected clothing. Several months later, Harold was well enough to attend the town's annual Veterans Memorial Ceremony. Few people noticed Garrick standing quietly near the back until the event organizer unexpectedly invited him onto the stage. The organizer revealed something nobody in attendance knew. Hospital surveillance footage showing Garrick's desperate rescue had spread privately among veterans organizations across the state. Inspired by his selfless actions, dozens of motorcycle clubs had organized blood drives benefiting VA hospitals. Thousands of units of blood had already been donated because one biker chose compassion over walking away. The crowd rose to its feet. Veterans stood first. Then nurses. Then police officers. Then families. Soon every single person present was applauding through tears. Harold slowly walked toward Garrick using his cane before embracing him with surprising strength. The elderly veteran removed the small bronze service pin from his own jacket and carefully fastened it onto Garrick's leather vest. There wasn't a dry eye in the audience. No medal could fully express what Garrick had done. He hadn't simply saved one elderly veteran. He had reminded an entire community that kindness is never determined by appearance. Courage doesn't always wear a uniform. Heroes don't always arrive looking the way people expect. Sometimes they arrive on a roaring motorcycle, wearing worn leather, carrying invisible scars, and possessing a heart bigger than anyone ever imagined. If this story has touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Corner for more unforgettable stories that celebrate compassion and humanity. Before this story ends, we have one special request. Please write the word respect in the comments if you believe every veteran deserves honor and every act of kindness deserves to be remembered. As the ceremony ended and people slowly returned home, Garrick looked down at the tiny bronze pin now resting beside his Hell's Angels patch. It was the smallest decoration on his vest, yet somehow it carried the greatest weight. For the first time in decades, he no longer felt defined by the mistakes people assumed he had made or the image they saw from a distance. Instead, he felt seen for the man he truly was. Harold had survived because one stranger refused to look away, and in saving one fragile life, Garrick unknowingly healed a part of his own heart that had been broken since the war. Long after the applause faded and the motorcycles disappeared over the horizon, the people who witnessed that extraordinary day carried one unforgettable truth with them: the greatest heroes are often the ones the world misunderstands the most.